So here's the Battletech Tactica question of the day. How do we get rear armor? On the tabletop, on the hex map, lance versus lance, what are some of the opportunities that we're looking for to get rear armor? And of course, the importance of it. So you look through the various tech manuals, and in each weight class, the armor is primarily on the forward-facing aspect of the mechs. And then second to that, the legs, and then finally the arms. Part of that is based on the matrix of just how much armor you can throw on. But when we look at rear armor, even on heavy mechs, even on assault mechs, compared to the rest, that is the thinnest point on the mech. Secondary to this is the majority of the mechs, all of the weapons are forward facing. So not only if you can somehow make it to rear armor, you're going to be able to potentially punch through to internals, and then from there, possible ammo explosions, various critical hits, but being left torso, right torso, center torso, heat sinks, weapons, gyros, engines, and other aspects of the mech. Not to mention return fire is going to be at what? Now, there are a couple of mechs out there that will have a rear firing weapon, or if you play with design quirks, they can kind of flip their arms around and shoot you, but that is not the majority. So, of course, what we see on the table is maneuverability where I'm trying to keep my mechs, or the mech in question if we're battling it out, facing the target, not only to protect that rear, but also to be able to fire the majority of my weapons. So how do we get rear armor? Because I'm going to do my best to stop it. You're going to do your best to get it. And yes, I mean, really, if I wanted to get rear armor, there's nothing you can do to stop me. And I don't say that from like an awesome Tactica position. I could throw everything at getting rear armor on a machine, but then I'm giving up positioning. I'm giving up maybe the mission. I'm putting myself at a disadvantage in terms of initiative and where we're going and what we're doing. So ideally, I want to get rear armor, but I still want to have all of those other important focused Tactica aspects. So the first thing, of course, is speed. Just how do you get up there? I could take something very, very fast and zip it up and get that rear armor. It could be something as low battle value as, say, a warrior, or a very, very fast-moving attack helicopter. Of course, the damage output isn't going to be amazing, but am I going to send that against your Stalker, or am I going to send that against your Jenner? Well, maybe not the Jenner because it'll flip back, or a light mech, a Wasp, a Stinger, something where I can hit you with an autocannon or a short-range missile pack and potentially do some significant damage to that rear armor on a light mech. A bigger example, a heavier example, almost an auto-include in all of your lists, a Saladin. This is take a engine, mount a seat on it, and mount an autocannon 20. Fast-moving autocannon 20. You've only got one shot. Maybe one shot's all you need. Maybe you take two. But another example of, and of course, hover vehicles being able to zip up. Now, of course, the challenge there is if I'm sending out one or two, that's expendable battle value because two things are going to happen. I'll make it up there. I'll zip past. I'll take a little damage bypassing your first lance or maybe some of your screening force. But if we're talking lance versus lance, if I zip up there with some of these expendable assets, I'm going to get rear, but then I'm going to eat all the other shots from your mediums and from your lights and everything there. Now, sometimes you want to do that. You can have, depending on the battle value, multiple points. What I would say, of course, is if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to have a dedicated kind of suicide zip up unit, you want to balance out the battle value. I won't say a third, but maybe 20%, 30%, exploring some aspect of that of the battle value where you're going to set that aside to be potentially expendable. And you don't want to just zip out all the way across the beginning of the game. You want to wait for your opponent to make it about halfway to the table, maybe spread out a little bit, maybe have some of their other units on the hex map in different places. I don't want to just go right into the hornet's nest, turn one, turn two. Wait till your opponent has committed, then zip out and blast them with the warriors, blast them with the hover tanks, hit them with the Saladin. Another way to get rear armor, and a safer and more common example. So we looked at one extreme. Now we're going to kind of look at a little bit more tactica conservative. You have lance moving forward, lance versus lance, and trying to isolate and trying to get rear armor. Given the opportunity, I would prefer a heavy mech. If we're looking at a lance, now you can build lots of different lances, but let's say we're looking at a lance of an assault mech, a heavy, a medium, and a light. The assault mech, it's going to have some good armor, right? Even rear armor could take 1 or 2 hits unless it's an autocannon 20. And of course, we're going to be looking at autocannon 20s as a very, very viable delivery strategy. Targeting the medium, targeting the light, I could probably tear through that. I usually like to target the heavy mechs because this is a chance to get rear armor, possibly take that machine out, or if I can't take it out, cripple it with heat, cripple it with an engine hit, cripple it with multiple heat sinks, just disintegrating internals, and not only possibly destroying that and removing those weapons from the game, but also now removing an initiative, right? Initiative is critical in Battletech. I've pushed up to the Battletech playlist here on my channel, Initiative Tactica. We really want to be able to use initiative. Now, that said, lance to lance, depending on the mission, maybe you're bringing up reinforcements and I want to disengage. If I have a chance to disintegrate a medium or a light, I will take it. I will take it because that removes a mech. I'm going to win on initiative. So when we see lance versus lance, what I'm looking to do is have 2 machines work in tandem. And I'm going to give an example of 2 machines that I utilize, 2 mechs. This, of course, is just a build idea. You could fill out this template. I'll take something like a Warhammer that wants to get up there, and naturally these are machines that I enjoy playing. I love for a variety of reasons. One could absolutely argue that there might be better machines suited to this, except for the Hunchback. Take a Warhammer and a Hunchback. These 2 in the lance are best buddies. Not that I ever want to break up a lance or go off on my own, but they're close. They're like 1 or 2 hexes next to each other. They're close. I might build out the rest with a Stalker, or I might fill in a Jenner, but those 2 mechs always work in tandem. Another example, if I have a little more battle value, might be something like a Thunderbolt and a Hunchback. But the Warhammer wants to get up close. It's got the PPCs at long range that complement the shorter range nature of the Hunchback. Those 2 march up to the target with the rest of the lance and tanks and support and infantry and things like that. When I find the target that I want to try and get rear armor on, the Warhammer is going to maneuver and get to what I call danger close. This is kind of my terminology. Danger close is now where 2 mechs are 2 to 3 hexes apart. And now we kind of both have decisions to make. We're locked 2 or 3 hexes apart. Range modifiers are down. I'm firing all those medium lasers. I'm firing short-range missile packs. I'm firing machine guns and small lasers at extreme range, but the heat value is nothing. I'm firing them away. You're firing it at me. If you cut and run, you can't backpedal that fast. I can still move forward and put the pressure on. So if you reverse yourself, I'm going to just keep following. You're going to keep following. If you cut and run, then I'm going to overwhelm you on side or rear. So we're kind of locked in. We're kind of locked in until you can safely break away, maybe using terrain or some other stuff coming in. Once you've locked someone like that, that is when the Hunchback now with that autocannon 20 is going to try and move around to the side, move around to the rear and face you with this choice of turn to face the Hunchback, okay, and now get savaged by my Warhammer on side armor or maybe rear armor. And of course, if you're weak on one side, that's where the Hunchback's going to go to the opposite side. So if you spin, potentially, if I don't get rear on the Warhammer, I'll get that side that is more damaged. Puts you through with a choice. And of course, the Hunchback is perfectly suited to get close because autocannon 20, and as long as I'm getting that close for the autocannon 20, I'm going to hit you with the 2 fists for a 1 in 6 chance of close combat, physical attacks. But look, you could replicate that Another example on a heavier type build, you could take a Warhammer, an Anchor Mech, or you could take a Thunderbolt. Grasshopper works fantastic. All energy, right? All lasers. Zipping around to the back, jump jets, things like that, and just blasting away. So this idea of one locking in the target, trying to force us to face each other, and then another unit getting around to rear armor. Rear armor is key in Battletech. You want to talk about things that can potentially really shift the momentum of the game, really change things very, very fast. Well, I'm going to put aside those lucky critical shots, right? Look, you fired off your autocannon 20 at extreme range. You didn't even calculate it. You know you needed 12s. You hit it with a 12. Then roll for location, head location. You blew my head right off. What the heck happened, right? Crazy things. You hit me. I hit a tank. I hit a von Luckner tank with a short-range missile 2-pack. I don't even remember why I was firing at it. I guess I was like moving by with one of my light mechs. Can't even remember why. Just moving by, and it's like, okay, look, I got a shot. So I'll take it with the SRM2, and I'll take it with the medium laser, because maybe I'll just score a motive hit and chew some stuff up. I'm not hanging around with all those weapons, and this tank is coming in to my central mass where I've kind of fortified with mechs. I hit, super crit, roll confirmed crit confirmed, roll in the vehicle chart. I hit the crew compartment, blew it out, and destroyed the tank one shot. Like, what? What the heck? Now, when that happens in Battletech, you remember those moments. You remember those moments right now. I give you a 5-second pause. You can remember like 2 or 3 of them. We're going to take it. I'm going to take it, absolutely. But I can't claim tactical genius. And of course, when those things happen, you want to be ready to go, ready to capitalize on it. But in terms of stuff that you can actually potentially create to shift the momentum of the battle, being able to get rear armor and knock out machines or damage machines to the point where now they're stacking on heat due to engine damage or potentially gyro. And that's a debate in itself. Would you rather have gyro damage or engine damage? But in exploring that, that's the beginning to getting rear armor.